Hey there world, I'm the Courageous Goldfish, and today we are doing part 2, I suppose, of a video that I did almost a year ago on this channel now. Last year when I first got into figure collecting, I did a video talking about figures I wish existed, and since then, obviously, my tastes have refined quite a bit. I have some new and fresh ideas of figures that I would like to see get made. So a little bit of this is going to be ranty, and a little bit of this is like, this is a good idea, you should hop on this, figure companies. So hopefully you guys find this interesting to see a part 2 of this video. I'll link the first one down below. But yes, I've got some brand new things to talk about today, and so I hope you enjoy it, and we will just jump right in. The first one I want to get into right away is something that's kind of tangentially related to some figure news going on right now, current events, so I thought I would start off with that. If you don't know, Kotobukiya has a fantastic line of Pokemon trainer figures that are really sought after and beloved in the community. They are really high quality, awesome figures that are beloved by collectors and just fans of the games as well. However, of course, with things that are so beloved and so sought after in this community, the aftermarket is just absolutely insane for most of these figures. And because Kotobukiya isn't super well known for re-releases, not a lot of people held out hope that these would ever see the light of day again. However, recently Kotobukiya announced that they were putting into production a Nate with Oshawott figure, which was a new one to the line, and that they would also be re-releasing Rosa with Snivy, which is kind of like the black and white counterpart to this Pokemon trainer. So that would be a reproduction of one of the main runs of the Pokemon figures, which is really exciting for a lot of collectors because that opens the door for the rest of these things to get re-released, which is something that is very eagerly anticipated by most people in the fandom. One of the holiest of my grails is the Dawn with Piplup figure. I am absolutely a Gen 4 baby, and I wanted to be Dawn when I was a kid, so it's a very nostalgic character for me, so of course I would want to try and get my hands on this, but the aftermarket is just so insane that I decided I just could never deal with the aftermarket prices. So I'm really hoping that Hikari and Pochama get a re-release as well. Here's the only potential flaw with the Dawn re-release, is that they can't do the same thing they're doing here with Nate and Rosa because there's already a Lucas with Chimchar figure, so if they wanted to release a new figure and re-release the one from the same gen, they'd have to find a different character to do, which I think could get a little bit tricky, so herein comes my suggestion to Kotobukiya. Obviously, I am holding out for a re-release of the original Hikari and Pochama, but what I think would also be really cool is if they did a figure of Dawn's platinum outfit, which would be just like amazing with her little coat dress. It's so cute. Pokemon Platinum was the game that I played in my childhood. I didn't actually have Diamond or Pearl, but I had Platinum. And so of course this is a really nostalgic outfit for me as well, and I'm sure for a lot of other Pokemon fans out there. If they wanted to make it feel different from the Hikari and Pochama, they could put her with Turtwig, so that way they would have all 3 of the starters in a figure, you know, because Lucas with Chimchar and Dawn with Piplup, and then if you put the Platinum Dawn with Turtwig, you know? I don't know. That would be just so cute. And Kotobukiya is seeing massive success with this Pokemon line. It is iconic in the community right now for so many reasons, so I don't see why this would be risky for them to do. I know that I would absolutely pre-order this if they were making it. This next thing I want to talk about, or I guess suggest, sort of, is something that I am fairly certain will be coming. I, like everyone else, have been watching and loving Spy Family this season. I'm just in awe of the prowess that this anime holds over the community at the moment, and so I am really excited to see some scale figures of the main family. I am not a person who likes children, so Anya can be a little bit hit or miss for me, but Lloyd and Yor, I love them so much, and so I cannot wait to see what some of these manufacturers do with the Spy Family license. I will be buying scale figures of Lloyd and Yor at least, and what I'm really hoping for is that Kotobukiya really nails it on these ones. Kotobukiya is well priced, high quality, and has usually very accurate faces, I've noticed, so I am die hard for Kotobukiya when they actually put in effort. The Kento Nanami was really disappointing, and so I am hoping for something dynamic, something that kind of blows my mind a little bit for Kotobukiya. I think if they really spend time on these, they could be something super great. So yes, I am hoping for the Artifacts J Spy Family figures to knock me out of the park. I'm gonna bring some things back from my first video here for a second because they are characters that I still really hope will get good figure adaptations. I really highly doubt it though, because they are from kind of unpopular series that have kind of fallen by the wayside now. But you never know. You never know. If a Taiga Bunny can happen out of nowhere, maybe if I cross my fingers hard enough, right? You know, I know, everybody knows, I am a super hardcore fan of Owari no Seraph, and we have really never gotten good figures of the gang. Union Creative put out 4 of the most popular male characters, and the Gurren Ichinose is actually like my biggest holy grail, but he is so expensive on the aftermarket, I can just never find him anywhere. So maybe a re-release for that? Please? Maybe? However, aside from the Gurren that already exists, sure, I would hope for a more dynamic one, but what I would really love is some figures of the girls from Owari no Seraph. Specifically, I am super in love with Shinoa. I think that they could do so much with this if a company wanted to step up to the plate and try. Shinoa has this really awesome scythe named Shikama Doji. It's like the name of the demon inside the scythe, not the name of the scythe itself, you know? But I think that would just be so cool. I really like scythe figures in general, and so I think if a company actually did a decent rendition of Shinoa with her scythe, I would be absolutely over the moon. Another character that I also really like is Cruel Tepes. She's the vampire queen. I would absolutely kill for a figure of her. Selfishly, I know these wouldn't sell well, but Cruel seems to be in that category of anime characters that figure collectors really like, and so if it turned out well and it looked really pretty, I think they get a lot of pre-orders from people who don't actually know who she is, but just decided to pick her up because they like the figure itself. And of course, I talked about this in the last video as well, would still kill for an Elizabeth Midford figure, specifically in the Book of the Atlantic, where she's just kind of like spinning around with her swords and all that. I talked about that in the last video, but I still think that's a fantastic idea. I would be so there. I don't see it happening though. And now, moving on to something that I know is never gonna happen, but I want to speak into the universe so that potentially, maybe, somehow, it could happen. I really doubt it though. I would love to see Freeing take a crack at the Sailor Senshi from Sailor Moon. Obviously, I'm the hugest fan of Sailor Moon alive, and so I would be super duper happy if any of the major companies could get the licensing to do Sailor Moon figures. But I really don't hold out hope for any of that. Bandai has like a chokehold on the license, and they will not give it to someone who will actually do it justice. So I seriously doubt that this will ever happen. But could you imagine quarter scale Sailor Moon bunnies? Listen, I don't even love Freeing bunnies all that much. I have my first one pre-ordered, I don't even have it yet, and I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not Freeing is actually a decent company to buy from in the first place, but I would be so there for these. Absolutely I would be, and I would collect the whole set. I would have to. Listen, obviously I would settle for just Sailor Moon, either in like the classic black or like maybe pink if they're feeling flirty, but I would rather prefer even just the 4 like inner senshi in Sailor Moon would be fantastic. I saw this image on a Sailor Moon like fan page community on I think Facebook or something like that, and it was just this illustration of the girls in bunny suits, and it like it set it into motion in my brain, and now it can't be stopped. I really want this to happen. However, like I said, I really highly doubt it. I recently pre-ordered my first ever Nendoroid, and now I'm kind of paying attention to Nendoroids a little bit more. They're not my favorite way to consume figures, but I think some of them are cute, and especially ones that are super expressive characters in the first place. So I have a couple of Nendoroid requests I'd like to go through. I actually thought that this was already announced, and then I went looking for it to add it to my wish list on my figure collection, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't exist because it was never announced. I don't know why. It just, in my brain, I was like, yeah, that's a thing that they're doing. Yeah, that's a real thing. It's not a real thing. I wish it was a real thing. I don't know why it's not a real thing. But I would really love an Urza Scarlet Nendoroid, obviously. We all know I'm the biggest Urza fangirl in the world, and they just recently did Natsu and Lucy Nendoroids, which are usually the two characters they do first before like rolling out the Greys and the Urzas. So I am really hoping that maybe Urza is coming. I cannot cross my fingers enough for that. This is one that I see potentially happening, so I'm more excited about it than the other ones, I think. But oh man. But yes, obviously I would be so there for an Urza Nendo. Would have to be picking that one up because we all know if it's Urza, I have to at least think about buying it. Other Nendo I would like to request is one that should have been made. There is no reason why this shouldn't already exist, and it is Toru Honda from Fruits Basket. Where is our Toru Nendo? Why didn't we get one? I will never understand. So we're getting Yuki and Kyo later on this year from Toy Tech. Well, I know. Still haven't decided if I'm actually gonna spring for those because they might turn out terribly like the Kaguya-sama ones, and I really don't want that for Fruits Basket. But no Toru! Why not? She's literally the main character, and she doesn't even have her own Nendoroid. I'm just saying, if I'm going to end up buying the Yuki and the Kyo Nendos, I want a Toru to go with them, please. And Fruits Basket is such a cult classic of an anime. I really don't understand why the figure companies have fumbled the bag so hard for Fruits Basket. I don't understand. In my last video, at the very end, I talked about how I would love to see some Studio Ghibli figures get made, namely Howl's Moving Castle, because it is my favorite of the Ghibli films. And I have a little bit of an update on that. Obviously, I'm still hoping for figures of the characters to get made by like tried and true Japanese companies like Kotobukiya or like Alter maybe, or fantastic scale figure makers, right? I'm still holding out for that. However, I saw on TikTok that there is a studio that makes like, I think they're resin figures of the Studio Ghibli films, and please feast your eyes upon the Howl's Moving Castle ones. I've heard that this company makes great quality statues for a reasonable price, and so if it's not like ungodly expensive to me, I will probably be trying to get my hands on this one. And that'll be my first statue. I've actually never really thought about getting into statue collecting. It's not really my thing as far as I know, but of course, because it's Howl's Moving Castle, if I can try, and if it's feasible, I think I'll go for it. So if you're in the figure community, you've probably heard of the Radio Eva figures that are absolutely burning up the community right now. This line of figures sees the popular Evangelion characters in drippy streetwear, which I think is a really cool concept. I'm not exactly a streetwear enthusiast myself, but I can appreciate that these figures are just a really nice and casual and classic and clean way to collect these figures, especially if you're a super huge Evangelion fan. And I was thinking to myself, what other figures would I like to see in more fashionable clothes? And the answer came to me immediately. I would love to see a Radio Eva style line of figures from Jujutsu Kaisen. I think that would just be so cool. I love Jujutsu Kaisen, but I don't have any figures from it yet because I'm not really blown away by any of them. I am someone who is super motivated by the outfit on a figure. If I think the outfit is really nice, then I want to pick the figure up more. But because the school uniforms are really basic and in my opinion super boring, I can't make myself want to pick up any of the Jujutsu Kaisen figures because they just feel like they fall flat to me. But if I could have these characters in a more fashionable streetwear fashion, I mean, I think that would be so cool. It makes sense to me, especially because of the original outro for the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. You can see them in casual clothes there, and that just kind of like set it off in my brain. I was like, I would buy figures of those if they made them. Obviously, I definitely think that the Radio Ava concept could be applied to a whole bunch of different franchises to make something that's super duper special for fans, but specifically I'd like to see Jujutsu Kaisen ones so that I can get some really cool looking figures of them in my collection. And my last suggestion is something that I kind of have more of a picture of in my mind, and that is a figure of Shoko Komi from Komi Can't Communicate. I absolutely love Komi-san. As someone who is actually diagnosed with social anxiety disorder, I know, super surprising. The girl who sits in her room alone and talks to the camera is a socially anxious person. But I absolutely love Komi-san, and I'm so disappointed that we're getting like next to zero for merch for it. Like, I pre-ordered the Komi Nendoroid, like I said before in this video. She's absolutely adorable, can't wait to get her, but I would absolutely die for a scale figure of her. The thing about Komi is that she's a very expressive character, and so I think if they're going to do a figure of her, she's gotta have a lot of dynamic movement in her pose to make up for the kind of blank, expressionless face that they'd probably give her. But if they're gonna make a figure of her with this facial expression, they're gonna need to really kill it on the pose and the hair movement. If this figure doesn't turn out to be dynamic, it's not going to hit the right note, I don't think. If she's just gonna be standing there with this blank expression on her face, it's just gonna be kind of boring. And so in my mind, I see it kind of fleshing out like this screen grab from the show, kind of in a similar style as that Chitoge figure that everyone's really crazy about. I could definitely see something to this effect going over super duper well with Komi-san fans. Was that the last one? I think that was the last one. There you go. Obviously, you know, these are just things that I would like to see. I really have low expectations, to be honest, because some of these are really obscure characters or like licensing issues. Cough, cough. Sailor Moon, cough, cough. So I'm not holding my breath on any of these, but they are figures that I wish existed, and if they did, probably instant POs for me. But that is all I have for you today. I would love to know in the comments down below if you have any great ideas about figures that you would like to see. I'm always so curious to ask people this question because every collector is different, and what every collector's dream is different too. So please let me know what you dream of down below. But of course, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.